Hi everyone, my name is Ryan Mazden, and this is an introductory workshop to case competitions and case analysis. So we're going to be going through the basics of what a case competition is and some of the smaller details of how to succeed from a high level. So let's dive right in. So why would you want to do a case competition? So there's quite a few reasons actually why you would want to do a case competition, and we've summarized them into three buckets here. So one is that you get to learn about new businesses. So this is a great opportunity for you to use the the concepts that you learn in class that are more theoretical and explore how they're applied in actual real case studies. So there's a good opportunity to learn about real companies and apply some of the frameworks that you learned about in class. It's also a great opportunity for you to improve your soft skills. So case competitions often have you working in a team. They have you solving complex problems and then coming up with presentations to communicate that to other people, typically judges. So those are some pretty great areas to flex your soft skills and critical thinking, communication, and definitely an opportunity to improve your public speaking. So you also get to capitalize on some perks that are not really related to your professional kind of career. So for me, that was very important when I was doing case competitions. So it's an opportunity to get to travel if you're competing at the national or international level. Sometimes you get to win money. There's usually awards and prestige, and sometimes that can even spin out into job opportunities where you might be able to network with people at some of these competitions, and if they like you, they might want to offer you an internship. So definitely there are excellent ways to convert case competition experiences into really rewarding outcomes. So in this introduction, we're going to go over the basics of analysis from a high level, and in further workshops, we're going to walk through PowerPoint presentations and the delivery. So in terms of an overall glance at what case competitions look like, we've broken it out into the formats, the dynamics, and overall time management. So in terms of case competition formats, there are many different types of case competitions. Some of them are 1 hour, 3 hours, 6 hours sometimes, and typically 24 hours. Case competitions have a lot of different rules. I've been to competitions where you are locked in a hotel room and you are not allowed to speak to anyone not in your hotel room, and that means no using of your phone, no social media. They will randomly come in to audit your room to see if you're following that. Sometimes they're as open as giving you a week to work on a presentation, and theoretically anyone can help you during that week. So there's really flexible rules when it comes to what kind of competitions you can enter, and it's good to know what the rules are for the competitions that you have selected. In terms of dynamics for your group, given that this is an introductory video, it is important to find a group that complements your skills. So in my experience, it doesn't matter how intelligent or talented each individual team member is. I think that the best teams are the ones that can work together and gel the best. And the team that I was successful with, we had a lot of fun when we worked together, and we were able to identify each of each other's strengths and weaknesses and know how to fill those gaps. So I would say that it's very important to find people that are motivated to do case competitions and then practice as much as you can, because the teamwork is very key and it's difficult to teach, but the skills necessary to win in terms of your analytical and communication skills are a lot easier to teach and to train. So I would recommend definitely finding a group of people that you work really well with and trying to build out those more technical skills. In terms of time management for case competitions, you, again, because you're under very tight time constraints, you need to allocate time accordingly and understand what deliverable you're trying to do. So if you're doing a 24-hour case competition, you should know that maybe you want to get 5 hours of sleep, so you will start your practice for your presentation a bit earlier, and you want to make sure that your PowerPoint presentation is done well before that time that you've allotted for your sleep. So another key thing is including time for breaks and making sure that you are taking your time when it comes to choosing a solution, but at the same time, don't let it take over and don't let it stall your team. So, from my experience, when I've done case competitions, the real sticking point is always choosing a solution. And what I've learned after doing several case competitions is that it's best to find a solution and use that as a hypothesis. So pick something early on, very early on, in the first hour or two of your brainstorming, and run with that and make sure that you can test all of the ways that this solution would work. So go through and do some research to make sure that you can validate the solution. That way, that if you do the research and you find out that it's not the best solution, you have time to go and either optimize it or change it. Whereas if you spend all your time brainstorming and then you find out later on that your solution doesn't work, then you won't be able to go back and fix it. You'll just kind of be stuck. So in terms of performance analysis, it's very important to develop the content and to structure your thoughts in a way that makes sense. Case analysis can be broken down into a few key components that if you're able to successfully explain them in your presentation, you will have a very comprehensive and successful presentation. So starting with the actual workflow that you'll go through in terms of executing on the case, you're going to get it, and typically in a paper or digital form, you'll go through, you'll read it once, and as an individual exercise, what you're going to do is you're going to note what the company objective is, so what is the goal of the company, what the key issues of the case are, and make sure that you outline what kind of research or company industry analysis you'd want to do to be able to support the kind of hypothesis that you're looking into. And ultimately, this hypothesis will drive the recommendation that you're looking to solve for. So this recommendation is going to be proven that it's feasible and that it makes sense by showing that there is a logical and feasible implementation timeline, that it makes sense financially and that it will have a net positive financial impact on the company, and that while you've identified risks that this solution will have, you've also successfully identified the ways that you're going to be mitigating those, and you will demonstrate that in this presentation. So with all of this put together, this is the core components of a successful case presentation. So you want to make sure that you're hitting each of these key areas when you're going through with your case analysis. So let's dive into the three key areas that drive recommendations. So the first bucket is the company objective. So with this, what you're really trying to do is understand what the company goal is and what key drivers are fueling that goal. So with this, an example would be, let's say in your case, the company really stresses that they're looking for a short-term solution. So that is really important because now when you're going to brainstorm your solution, you know that the company is looking for something that has impact on them in the short term rather than the long term. So this is basically a way of making sure that you are aligned to what the company is looking for and what the company objective is leading towards. So in terms of the key issues, what you're trying to do is understand what the high-level challenges the company is facing. So typically how this is executed in a case is you go through, you read the case, and you and your team outline an exhaustive list of all of the issues that are in the case. And once you have that exhaustive list, you break them down into the smaller, high-level buckets of key issues. And with those key issues, you're able to see what the big picture is of the case and understand and prioritize what issues need to be solved. So once you have that short list of 3 to 4 key issues, you can put together a problem statement that not only summarizes the problem, but makes it so that your team has a clear direction in what you're trying to solve. And this is also very effective when you present this in your presentation by having a slide that explains what the problem statement is so that everyone watching your presentation knows what direction you're going in and knows what problem you're trying to solve. So now that you've successfully identified the problem, how do you go about solving it? So here is a framework that we use in our cases to be able to tackle pretty much any problem. It doesn't matter what the case is, if you follow this sort of high-level generic plan, you'll always be able to have a pretty exhaustive and comprehensive solution. So the first step is to identify all of the issues. So you go through the case and you write down every single issue, an exhaustive list of issues that you were able to identify in the case. From there, you summarize each of the key issues into higher level categories so you can kind of see from the bigger picture what's going on. So you would kind of bucket these issues. So an example would be you have a manager who is resistant to change, and you have employees who lack the training necessary to complete these new operations. So here you would have human resources as a bucket, and those two issues would fall under human resources. Similarly, if you had some sort of technology-related problems, maybe a series of technology-related challenges, then you would put that under a technology issue. And you summarize these key issues until you have about 3 to 4 really, really high-level key issues that you can solve. And you want to try your best to quantify these issues into either absolute numbers or percentages, something that shows at a glance what is really troubling the company. And then you take a break from the key issues and you try and understand what the case is looking for. So typically, having read quite a few cases, there's always an expected deliverable from the case. Either the client is looking for a marketing strategy, a growth strategy, some sort of system, roadmap. They're always looking for some sort of deliverable that your presentation will hopefully solve. And in most cases, it really helps to know what that deliverable is before you start brainstorming how you're going to be solving these key issues. So once you know what that deliverable looks like, then you can kind of keep that in mind when you think about your solution. So once you've got a high-level understanding of what deliverable you're trying to solve for, then you brainstorm how you're going to solve all these key issues. And this is a task that differs for a lot of teams. People tackle brainstorming in many different ways. Some people like design thinking. Some people like to just throw darts at a board and come up with something that inspires them. And to be honest, I would recommend doing whatever works for your team and whatever you're able to accomplish in terms of the time allotted to you. Sometimes you'll have a lot more time to brainstorm, sometimes you won't have as much. So I would recommend just working as a team to come up with an exhaustive list of ideas and then boiling those down into the key ideas. So sort of similarly to what you did for the key issues, but now think about how you can solve those key issues in a similar manner. And then once you have each of those kind of higher level solutions, you weigh the pros and cons. Sometimes that's done in a matrix where you have certain criteria to rank each solution, and you select a solution that solves the issues the best or solves the most issues, and after doing this exercise, you should have a pretty comprehensive solution.